everybody, my name is Solus Convoy, and today I'm taking a look at Newage H70S Shmulik. This is another Newage review. This is on loan to me from my homie Ty, and boxes, usual, Newage. There's a picture of the tank, some pictures of the figure that are pasted on all sides, usual grid detailing, etc. So let's take a look at this guy. I like the green paint overall. The one thing about this is the green paint is a more coarse and or chalky texture, I want to say. I think they did that so that it would be like thinner than the usual paint they use, so you could feel these rivets and all the tank details on the figure. It ends up having this hand feel that's very different from usual Newage, which is usually smooth and glossy. This is more like gritty, but I think it kind of fits. It really does kind of fit. This toy feels like one of those in the tank mode especially, it feels like one of those old die-cast tank toys you used to have as a kid. So the small ones, they're like Hot Wheels size. So I really do like how it feels. The head sculpt is pretty good. I like the vent detailing. A lot of the small detailings on this are really crisp, which is really impressive for the scale. My one issue is I wish they'd use a different paint for the eyes. It's more like a gunmetal gray. I wish they'd use more of a silver just so they would pop more. The green is painted. There's some sparse green plastic here and there, like for these thighs. This gray is painted. The tampograph here is nice. I wish they'd taken advantage of the available plain real estate to add more tampographs, even if they weren't present on the original toy. I think, they could have really added some more bang for your buck in terms of paint detailing. It just feels a bit underwhelming and underbaked. The kibble is pretty good. I think it's set up pretty good. You can rearrange these feet to be in like the classical Warpath tread feet configuration. So you can just do that. Honestly, I think it looks kind of goofy on this figure because it's not really designed with the tread feet in mind. It's more like an option you can do. So I don't think it's ideal. Going on to the articulation, the head is on a ball joint hinge system because it can't have the back be open for alternate mode. So it only gets that much by itself up. But then if you use the hinge, you can get a lot up and you can get a lot down. The one issue is you kind of have to situate it properly. Otherwise, he's a bottleneck. The shoulders are weird. They hinge out up here, so they're already off-centered. And if you want to rotate them, you can only go in this direction. Because otherwise, what you end up doing, unfortunately, is the shoulders are on a hinge system here for transformation, but there's no locking mechanism. So it's going to be a bit harder to show it on camera, but if I grab them from the turret and I just move the shoulder backwards, you can see the shoulder just basically pushes both the chest plate, top of the tank turret, and the backpack out of position. So that's really kind of disappointing. It's really like not a good engineering idea. You basically, if you want to move the shoulder backwards, you have to press down on the shoulder plate or on the top of the chest plate and then hope that it doesn't move. It's just a bad decision, honestly. And the shoulders are tighter than these, so the shoulders won't give before these give. It's just amateur hour stuff, man. He has a double jointed elbow, and unfortunately the bicep swivel is in the middle of the elbow. I wish they wouldn't do this. They did this with, I think, Sludge for the first time, who I love, and it's like one of the things I would change about that figure. I don't like this because if you want to use the bicep swivel naturally, you basically only have a single jointed elbow, and if you try to use it when it just looks weird. I don't know. Another thing I don't like about this figure is that it has wrist swivel that's ungodly tight, and also this should be an accessories, but the wrists do come out. We'll talk about that later. He also has an ab crunch, which is like not loose, but it's not super tight. It gets a good range too. It's almost 90 degrees. And then he can kick at the hips going back to about 75 degrees, right? And then he can kick forwards. The hips are tight. They're tight. So a lot of times when you go to kick the hips, the ab crunch moves instead. Not because it's loose, but because the hips are just tight. It goes up almost to 90, right? And then, see, it's tight. And then going out to the side, 90 degrees. This side, unfortunately, is a bit loose, which is really annoying considering everything else in this figure is very, very tight. I'll talk more about that later too. He's a very basic 90-degree knee bend, kind of disappointing. Thigh swivel, which is thankfully not loose. This hip is annoying because everything else is super tight, so it's just, and then unfortunately the ankle, this is the default position, and that is the breadth of your ankle tilt. I don't even know if that's 15 degrees. I get a protractor out if I cared enough, but I think it's only one click basically. Like there's no nuance in that ankle tilt. You basically get like the flat position and the tilted position. it's almost not even an ankle tilt. It feels more like you're transforming a figure into a permanent A stance. So that's really kind of disappointing. In terms of accessories, this is gonna be the shortest accessory segment ever. It's just this blast effect. This is the entire accessory loadout for this toy, which is, by the way, a $47 minibot. That's it. There's nothing else. This toy comes with nothing else. And also the fun part is, as I said, his wrists come off, and these can fit Huffer's hands. I don't have Huffer's alternate hands anymore, but they do fit. So there really is no excuse. Like, they engineered this toy with hands that come off because they wanted to reuse their usual sculpt for the hands, obviously, without changing it. And instead, they don't bother to give us... I mean, I don't know, man. It's a $50 minibot and it's one accessory. It's a bit like, what am I paying for here? You know, the tolerances certainly aren't very good. Here's a comparison with another Newage minibot. Here's their sea spray, and this guy is larger and more complex. But I paid, I don't know, 2 of these are $50, and I thought that was expensive. You know, I thought 2 of these should have been 40 or 45, but 40 really, because they're not that complex. This guy is more complex, yeah, but he's definitely not worth $50. This is like a $35 toy, or maybe $30 toy at max. Like, if the tolerances were up to par, I would be fine paying $35, but they aren't even. And the fact that this retails for $47 USD is kind of insane. So no accessories, basically. And I guess that's basically our comparison with another Newage Gobot. So into size comparisons, this is Manowar. And then let's get some other Newage figures and some other figures in the back here. So let me put in Newage's depth charge. As you can see, so these are both small. Like, he is bigger than Tremors, obviously, but he's not very large. Here's them next to a core. So he is shorter than a core class figure. And I usually don't prescribe to size correlated with price. I mean, everyone knows by now parts count is a sole determining factor of price and material quality, next to a Legion. But at some point, even compared to a Newage product, this figure is like... It feels like they're taking the piss. Here's next to Dr. Cosmos, who costs like $10. And here he is next to a Chug Deluxe. So he's about up to the Skullgrin mold's waist. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, usually I'm pretty fine with 3P Legends. I understand the price differences, and I understand how they're priced. But this one is just like, I don't know, the tuned version of this mold is like $40. I'll talk more about it in final thoughts. Let me get this guy transformed, then we can look at his tank mode. Local mode size comparisons. Here's Dr. Cosmos, Legion class Flak, Shmulik, Manowar, and then Core class Bombshell. So he's, I guess, I don't know, he's a lot heavier than Bombshell, a lot denser than Bombshell. So he's about a core. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard. He's pretty dense for what he is. Let me just give you a length comparison. Oopsies. Yeah, same, basically almost as tall as he is in Bob mode. Not quite as tall. So there. Let me zoom in for a second, and one of the issues I want to talk about, you may have just seen it. If not, I will show you. So here's a fun thing. The barrel extends. The barrel retracts. The barrel extends. The barrel retracts. This is one of the only things that needs to lock in for this transformation. It just does not do that. It is so aggravating. There's an accessory for the tank mode. In terms of articulation, the cannon can hinge up and hinge down, and as you know, it'll retract by itself freely. It can rotate around and do a full 360, which is very impressive. The detailing on the tank mode is truly fantastic. I love the rivets. I love the ridges. I love how this tank looks. No wheels, unfortunately, but for the scale, it's very forgivable. You can also plug in the blast effect, and as I go to do that, the barrel will retract automatically, and it looks fantastic with the blast effect coming out of it. However, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, that's all I really have to say about it. This is basically going to be the beginning of the final thoughts. The transformation is fun. The transformation is very fun. And it would be fantastic, would be fun and fantastic, really, truly fun, if the tolerances weren't terrible. This figure is ungodly tight in so many places. I don't understand why. I've been messing with it purposefully to try to loosen it more and more if it's just pancaking up, and some stuff is still super tight. So just keep that in mind. People also reported that on Warpath, so I think the mold tolerances are just cooked. It's not the repaints. I think the mold is just poorly toleranced, or they overcorrected and made it too tight. The tank mode overall is pretty good. The robot mode looks great. It's a shame about the ankle tilts being really limited. It's a shame about the shoulders. The way they're designed is just a pain in the ass. It's annoying. It shouldn't be that way. I wish there was more tampograph detail. But like all these things, you know, if this figure was like $30, I could probably excuse them, right? But this is almost $50. The figure released right before this Newage blaster was only like $58. I got it for $58, the comic version, and that thing is fantastic. It's like does everything you'd want and more, and it comes with a bunch of stuff. So it feels like you're getting a complete package. This is a very, very, very incomplete package. Okay, a figure of this caliber is not really worth more than $30. Realistically, like you add on another $5 to $10 for the Newage paint and materials, and you say $40, really pushing the limit. But nearly $50 for this is. They're on something with this one, I think. I really do think so. I mean, it's just blatant at this point. It does nothing, and it comes with nothing to like justify its existence. You know, like it is very much just like, okay, it looks like Warpath. It transforms like very good. The articulation is okay, not spectacular. But it just feels like they're filling a gap where it's like, okay, we need to make a Warpath toy, and we made this. It's okay, it's not bad, but it isn't really like. It doesn't feel very purposeful. It feels like a gap filler. It feels like a toy that exists to fill a hole in a toy line, and it's priced like, you know, well, we don't need to make it particularly good, and we can just charge whatever we want for it because we don't want to charge low prices. You know, I've seen at Newage, the value of their figures decreases exponentially as the price tags go down. Right? They don't really have any good value products under $50. Their worst products value wise are all under $60. And this is a key example of that. The $40 to $50 price range is where Newage truly puts out some of the worst value items in third party. And this is just another example. It's just not there. It is just not there. Like price to product wise, it is not there at all. It's a terrible price point. And I know the reason they do this. They're paying jack shit on shipping because the boxes are so small. They're making a killing on these. They're making an actual killing on these mini bots, and they have been, and they will continue to because people keep buying them, myself included. I didn't buy this. This is mine. But, you know, I digress. Overall, I think I can tentatively recommend this if you're into like Legends class and you like how it looks, because the big benefit here is the aesthetics. And if you like how it looks, then yeah, probably go for a version of it, but I would really recommend you go for it on sale. If you just want Warpath, his price is more manageable. I think it's $40 flat, but the repaints are just ungodly expensive for what they are. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really wanted to like this, but unfortunately, this just feels like, it feels more like, I guess, like, I don't want to say Power Glide, because Power Glide is priced more. It reminds me of Hound, but I also felt like Hound came with a boatload of accessories to justify his bonkers price. So this guy's kind of a new beast of his own. I still like it. It's not trash or anything. It's just like really disappointing that Newage is like, you know, love for their profit margins is kind of outpaced their love or their passion for their craft on this particular release. I got Blaster, and that's very much a different story. So I don't know. It's just really interesting how like basically like two releases released within months of each other are so wildly different in terms of user experience. But that's it for me. Again, thanks to Ty for letting me borrow this. You can get this at Show Z Store. I'll drop a link in the description, and other versions are also on Show Z Store. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Peace.